Good afternoon. I'm here today as the Minister of Tourism, Culture, and Sport to share key initiatives that will be supported by the 2024-25 budget allocation for our ministry. The ministry's 24-25 budget has increased by $15 million, providing a total budget allocation of $29,619,000. This increase is due to the transfer of the Bermuda Tourism Authority grant, the Hotel Regulatory and Policy Unit, and the cultural grants to supplement and complement the efforts of the BTA. This funding covers the operational expenditure for the ministry, inclusive of the ministry headquarters and Hotel Regulatory and Policy Unit, the Department of Culture, the Department of Sport and Recreation, and the grant to the Bermuda Tourism Authority. Now I will provide an overview of the initiatives under this ministry's remit. Ministry headquarters. The grant to the BTA is $16,540,000, a reduction of $2,460,000, and funds are being redirected to priority areas including increased grants to supplement local curators of tourism experiences, increased funding for elite athletes, as 2024, as you would know, is an Olympic year, increased funding for sports development in line with the national sports policy that will ultimately support many of the national sports governing bodies, expansion of the accessibility to affordable summer day camp programs, and assistance with the operation of makerspaces for artists and creatives, which is a 2023 Throne Speech initiative. The Department of Culture. The Department of Culture has been given an operational budget of $2,223,000. $300,000 is allocated for the development and establishment of makerspaces, a place where artists can create artwork, bands can practice, actors can rehearse, and creatives can collaborate with each other. Bermudian creatives, including musicians, visual artists, actors, poets, and dancers, have long advocated for a dedicated makerspace, and this will provide an environment where creatives can work on projects together. Cultural groups can meet, and performing artists who currently do not have an affordable place to practice can work on honing their craft. Some expected offshoots include workshops and master classes developed by the cultural community. The Department of Sport and Recreation. The operational budget for the Department of Sport and Recreation is $8,335,000. $350,000 of this budget is for elite athletes. The Elite Athlete Assistance Program, which currently supports prominent athletes such as Dage Miners, Daniel Augustus, Jessica Lewis, and Uche Andre de Silva, as well as Connor White, amongst others, covers essential aspects like travel, per diem, accommodations, and more. Given that the 2024 Olympic and Paralympic Games are scheduled for this summer, our athletes require comprehensive support to propel them towards sporting excellence for Bermuda. The enhanced funding will play a pivotal role in aiding these athletes, covering crucial aspects such as insurance, recovery, physiotherapy, coaching expenses, and other often overlooked costs associated with representing Bermuda on the international stage. $2 million has been allocated to the Sports Investment Program, which will allow the department to address gaps in funding to ensure alignment with the objectives of the national sports policy, including increased participation, achieving sporting excellence, and enhancing coach education. An additional $500,000 has been budgeted for summer day camps so that the number of students on the wait list is significantly reduced, alleviating stress for working parents. The Department of Sport and Recreation summer day camp programs are extremely popular as parents seek safe and affordable summer camps for their children. Annually, parents eagerly await registration of summer day camp. Registration closes within minutes of opening because camps have reached their maximum capacity. Due to popular demand, after the camp's enrollment have capacity, a wait list is created. The wait lists are usually long and extensive. The department's desire is to minimize this wait list that occurs every year. The aim is to alleviate stress of finding safe and, more importantly, affordable summer camps for as many children as we can allow. The strategy is to expand availability at public summer day camps and collaborate with private camp operators to secure additional spaces. The department will be reaching out to private camps to obtain some spots in their camps. This will help students that would not normally be exposed to these camps an opportunity to participate. Grants. The following organizations will continue to have the ministry's support for an array of programs and services that are provided in the community. The Bermuda Tourism Authority, Cultural and Entertainment Support, Parish Councils, the Annual Cup Match Classic, the National Sports Center, contributions to sports investment, elite athletes, the Bermuda Arts Council, the Bermuda National Gallery, and the cultural preservation of Gombe troops, museums, and heritage activity. The Ministry of Tourism, Culture, and Sport develops and celebrates our people through the National Cultural Heritage Policy. We will continue to diligently support initiatives that demonstrates the government's ongoing commitment to culture, sport, and tourism. Thank you.
Good day, Bermuda. Today I will share with you the key initiatives that will be supported by the 2024-25 budget allocation for the Ministry of Youth, Social Development, and Seniors. The Ministry's 2024-25 budget increased by $1.45 million, which covers the operational expenditure for the Ministry's headquarters, inclusive of the Office of Youth Affairs, Aging and Disability Services, the K. Margaret Carter Center, the Department of Child and Family Services, and the Department of Financial Assistance. The increase comprises of $800,000 in union salary uplifts for public officers and $650,000 to fund new and ongoing programs. Our budget increase demonstrates our continued commitment to Bermuda's most vulnerable and cherished population groups, our children, persons with disabilities, and seniors, and those who find themselves in economic need. The ministry will ensure that the services and programs we offer will directly impact and improve the overall well-being and quality of life for these population groups. Now I will provide an overview of the initiatives under the ministry's remit. The Office of Youth Affairs. This office was transferred to the ministry in November of 2023. You may recall just last month I provided an update on the work of this office, which is being steered by the National Youth Policy, which is a 5-year plan that focuses on 8 key goals associated with the empowerment of our youth, namely safeguarding, education, tackling antisocial behavior, employment, sports, health, civic engagement, and diversity. This budget will continue to support our community centers and after-school programs for children and seniors. It would allow the Office of Youth Affairs to host a major youth conference in July, focusing on mitigating the antisocial behaviors of our young people. Additionally, it will help to ensure youth organizations that receive grants for youth programs and services have child safeguarding policies already in place. Aging and Disability Services. This budget allows us to continue to support the Dementia Pilot Program that will provide the government with specific data and information on the extent and level of demand for dementia care services in Bermuda. $120,000 in additional funding will continue the implementation of the structured decision-making tool that was purchased last year to support and protect Bermuda's seniors and persons with disabilities who are at risk of abuse or self-neglect. Decision-making for an adult population is complex due to difficulties in reliably assessing the capacity of older adults for decision-making during ethical dilemmas raised when adults refuse services. The continuation of putting this framework in place will help officers to make consistent decisions and identify immediate safety concerns specific to clients. The Department of Child and Family Services, with the responsibility of protecting Bermuda's children and strengthening our families, the Department of Child and Family Services has been given an operational budget of $19.7 million. $150,000 will fund the start of a new child safeguarding program that will facilitate children participating in psychosexual assessments and counseling services as support services. For clarity, as per the Child Safeguarding Act of 2019, children who are victims of sexual offenses or who are convicted of sexual offenses and serious personal injury must receive both physical and psychological services. An additional $350,000 has been budgeted to enhance the delivery of the independent living program for our young people who are aging out of government care, with the engagement of our younger people starting in the program at 17 and a half years to prepare them for independent living. The independent living program was officially opened in 2023, and currently there are 7 young persons living at the facility and moving through the structured program. This includes 2 young persons who are 17 and a half years old who recently entered the program. The community-based program offers housing and steers the youth to other resources where they obtain educational, vocational, and life skills coaching that supports independent living as they transition into adulthood. This budget will also support the continued work that is being undertaken by the Multi-Agency Risk Assessment Committee, which has been established, and weekly meetings continue to occur to collaborate in reviewing the highest risk domestic abuse cases. This upcoming budget year, the MOROC Committee will be developing a 5-year domestic abuse strategy. Department of Financial Assistance. The operational budget for the Department of Financial Assistance is $54.1 million. The financial assistance reform during this current year resulted in increased benefits for persons receiving financial assistance support through increases to the table of allowable expenses, including an additional $2.1 million for the expansion of the child daycare allowance program, $3 million for low earners, $2.6 million for able-bodied unemployed persons, $25 million for pensioners, and $15 million for disabled persons. Additionally, the department will roll out for the first time a short-term relief benefit program during 2024-25 budget year. Legislation is currently being worked on to support the delivery of this benefit program that would afford those persons who experience financial hardship at any point the opportunity to apply for a one-off short-term relief benefit. These financial reform initiatives will provide social protection systems that guarantee all families, regardless of their current economic standing, access to resources to meet their basic needs. The third sector grants, we have allocated $3,685,000 to continue to provide for grants to the third sector organizations that provide needed social services and programs. These organizations include Age Concern, Women's Resource Center, Center Against Abuse, Vision Bermuda, our nursing and residential care homes, Meals on Wheels, Salvation Army, Summer Haven, Tomorrow's Voices, and the Charity Home. In conclusion, other key initiatives that will be steered by the Ministry of Youth, Social Development and Seniors during the 2024-25 budget year include the completion of a national senior strategy, the execution of priorities in the plan to end homelessness, and the continued strengthening of the litigation guardian program. Bermuda, the ministry is diligently working to support initiatives that demonstrate the government's ongoing commitment to improving the social well-being of our youth, our seniors, and persons with disabilities, which all contributes to a path to a better Bermuda. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have questions from Island Stats.
Minister, I heard you name off, a place where cultural and musicians get an opportunity to congregate. Has there been any thought, if possible schools closed and youth and sport be given one of the schools to house the national sports governing bodies, utilize the facility to the best of their ability to allow training, all sorts of things that could happen in their meetings take place and so forth? Has that been a consideration?
Well, I can tell you that at the AGM of the national sports governing bodies, there was an idea of a location, and I'm not at liberty at this moment to disclose that location, but I can tell you that there have been initial discussions with a location in Bermuda and the national sports governing bodies so that they can achieve exactly what you are speaking of.
What about a facility for a Hall of Fame? We keep running short of displaying our national heroes when we celebrate everybody else's. We even bring in everybody else's. What about our own, a place that we can call our own to celebrate our own athletes?
Thank you. As you know, Mr. Bazin, there has been a Hall of Fame ceremonies that have happened in the past. As recently as about a month ago, I did meet with that committee. We are going to do something with the Hall of Fame. However, the dedicated location of which you speak of may be a little further away, but we will be reinstating in some form or fashion the Hall of Fame so we can recognize the athletes that have not been recognized in a few years now.
We noticed that it's more allocation funds for the National Sports Center. Does that entail the solar? I know part of the solar has been actually turned on. When can we see the rest in full use and then reduce that bill that we have with Belco?
Absolutely, and I would say that your point that the part of the solar is on, also part of the overall project, and that's what a lot of people fail to realize, that there was an overall cost-reducing project at National Sports Center for some time now. You would notice if you go that all the lights have been changed. They are now LED lights, which is bringing down the cost of power as well. The solar project is a project on its own, and much has been said about that project and the funding for that project. However, you would also notice that the National Sports Center has other needs of refurbishments and had other needs of upgrade. And you will see that this funding that I've specifically laid out here is to speak to some of those other upgrades. I noticed that not much was reported about the National Sports Center getting a whole new array of chairs and seating in the last year. And that came from last year's capital budget. The elevator has been upgraded, and we'll be moving on to other areas to support the running of the National Sports Center, which is a key part of sports and our elite athletes in Bermuda.
My final question would be, has the beginner given any thought of covering the grandstand, or the stand that don't have covers over it, and putting extra solar on that as another resource of income?
I could tell you, not at this time. At this time, there are other very key parts of the National Sports Center that need immediate attention. And once we get to that, we can go back and look at your proposal about covering other areas to reduce some of the energy costs even further. But it is expected, as was well documented, that with the solar project that we have on, once it is fully turned on, we will see significant cost savings, which may even result in a net gain of $0.
Cool.
Thank you. So at this time, we'll have questions from you.
Hi, good afternoon. With the makerspaces, do you have a timeline for when that's going to be implemented, and do you have an idea of how many artists or groups of artists will be served by it?
Absolutely. The makerspaces is going to be online. I'm expecting that you will see the first movement in makerspaces at the beginning of this budget year, which is April. So we will see some movement by then. It will be a slow process. We're not going to be able to bring on makerspaces for all creatives at that time. But I expect that by April, definitely, before summer comes, you will see the start of a few makerspaces. And I can tell you that that was a meeting that I had just before coming here, that is well on our way to seeing that actually take place.
So it's not in one location?
It will be in one location, but we're not going to be able to have an art studio and a music studio and something else, and it will be a little bit at a time to accommodate as many as we can. But for your timeline, we're looking to start that this April.
Yeah, and when you get past all that piecemeal and you reach the end of that process, how many people do you visit?
I don't have a number, but I do know that once the Honorable Premier and myself and the director, we met with the makerspace and the creatives who asked for this makerspace almost a year ago now. And there are quite a bit of creatives in Bermuda that are looking to take advantage of what the government has to offer them.
Okay. I didn't hear anything about sort of Airbnbs, but there had been some unrest in that industry, the rental vacation market, with representatives speaking publicly about feeling that they're being triple taxed and that it's hindering that market. Is there anything you can say from tourism's perspective on that? I
can say that when I took over this portfolio, one of the initial meetings that I did have was with the members of Bravo. They did air their concerns to me. They did go back to their membership, and we are going to have a follow-up meeting very shortly. And on top of that, you will hear an announcement regarding the vacation rentals very shortly as we move into the season where they become very, very popular.
Okay. How do you think the grant reduction for the BTA is going to affect that entity?
Well, the BTA has done and continue to do good work for tourism. As I said in the speech that we have asked the BTA, I've met with the BTA board, and we've asked them to sharpen their pencils and focus more on the sales and marketing, which we know that the BTA does very well. And as I said in the speech, that what we're looking to do is to collaborate with the BTA more. We're looking to supplement some of their efforts that they are doing in other places. And as you've heard me say many times, with this ministry now taking on culture as well as sport, there are many synergies that you can expect to come forward with a collaboration between the two. And this is a way for us to streamline some of those resources.
Do you feel the BTA is being watered down and that government's taking sort of more control of tourism as a whole?
Absolutely not. I think it may be the opposite. The BTA, as you would have known when it came online in 2014, was brought on to be an independent authority to look after tourism in this country and to focus on sales and marketing. And what we're doing by taking on some of the cultural and sports aspects of that is actually allowing the BTA to even become stronger in what they do really, really well, which is sales and marketing.
Okay, finally, just anything you can speak to about the Gaming Commission and the movement of casinos?
The Gaming Commission and casinos does not come under my remit. And I can tell you this, that in my discussions with the hoteliers that I have, that has not come up at this time. So I will leave that for the place where it resides.
Thanks.
Thank you.
For the Minister on the National Youth Policy Initiative. The Gazette reported recently that 14 charities have benefited from grants. I think $80,000 in grants. How effective have those grants been in terms of helping the charities, and is there a way or a yardstick to measure the effectiveness of the grants to these organizations?
So through the Ministry of Youth, Social Development and Seniors, we give grants to the third sector. There is an additional grant giving to youth-focused organizations, and that is to the amount of $100,000. And that amount is split, I would say, approximately 8 to 10 different youth-focused charities. In every grant application and contract, we actually stipulate what it is that we would like, from a government perspective to see as far as utilization and goals that we would, like for them to be focused on. And so those sorts of stipulations are specified in their actual grant contract.
Okay.
So you mentioned the litigation guardian program being strengthened. Can you elaborate on that a little?
Absolutely. So the litigation guardian framework, in the Children's Act, there is the availability for children to have access to litigation guardians. And I'm glad you brought this up because we want our community to know, for those children who are particularly going through the court process, that this is an option that is available to them. However, litigation guardians are court appointed, so they're actually appointed by the magistrate. When the legislation was initially put in place, and it provided for a panel of litigation guardians, what we did not have was the structure and framework to have litigation guardians who were trained. And so what we have done is we've provided training for our litigation guardians, as well as we provided a framework or what we call the standards of practice that litigation guardians would have to follow. We've also strengthened the sort of billing process or the funding around it to make sure that it was more streamlined, to make sure that we can have as many children have access to that litigation guardian service when needed.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any further questions? Okay, so there's no further questions. That concludes the press conference. Thanks.